what people may not realize is that wicker actually just refers to the process of kind of weaving things together. So you can have something that's wicker that's made of rattan or made of hemp or made of cane or willow, okay?
Hi everyone, welcome to Capital Vintage Charm School. Today we have Ashlyn Goldberg talking to us about natural fibers. Is that an appropriate umbrella for what we're talking about today, Ashlyn?
I think so. I think it's perfect.
Great.
Perfectly imperfect natural fibers.
There you go. For those of y'all who do not follow her, Ashlyn Goldberg is a interior designer, and her handle is her business is Uncommon Collector, but you can follow her at Ashlyn Goldberg. Ashlyn, thank you so much for being with us today.
It is my pleasure and my honor, Stacy.
So I mentioned this before we started recording. If you don't follow Ashlyn, you are in for a surprise when you go to her feed. She does airy, textured, layered, warm better than anybody else. And so talking to her about natural fibers is just such a perfect fit for today's charm school. Ashlyn, what is it about these natural textures that just kind of sing to you?
Well, first, thanks so much again for having me. It's a real honor and a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this so much. So I think what natural fibers do for me is on kind of the overall, they connect me to nature. Okay, so nature is kind of probably one of my biggest inspirations. I love being in it. I love being around it. In North Carolina, I like being inside in the summer, but to be able to see nature because it's so darn hot. But in general, texture is nature. And if you can find a way to live in a space that allows you to feel connected to nature, I think it feels good. And texture is how we do that. Now, not all of us have green thumbs. So say we can't all have, big ficus trees or, lots of ferns or plants, but, and that's one way to bring in texture and nature. But through natural fibers, you can feel a little connected to nature because when you go out in nature, you see plants and you see texture and you see rough things. And they are things that you kind of want to reach out and touch. And through natural fibers, we as humans have created these things that we can bring into our home, and we can sit in them, we can walk on them, we can put our remotes in them, we can do all these different things with natural fibers that I think connects us with nature. And so, when you think about your home, you're obviously protected from the elements. You have at least in our area, you have central air to help with humidity, and you have shelter from the elements. But without bringing in elements of nature, it maybe won't feel quite as warm or as enveloping, or you may not feel as grounded in these man-made structures. And so natural fibers, anything from wicker to caning to bamboo to rattan to jute to sisal to seagrass, having bits of those in your home and in your space and kind of peppered throughout, I think connects us with nature and kind of reminds us that we're part of nature. And I think nature is just one of the most, being in nature is one of the most beautiful things about being alive. It kind of transcends all things.
So Ashlyn, one of the things that I love about how you decorate with this is, for me, natural fibers are sort of my foundation. I put things on top of them. You let them shine in, they are your showstopper.
Yeah.
I think the way that you are able to, like, I put the rug down and throw things on top of it.
Yeah.
Thing completely by itself, and you make that natural fiber rug or basket or lamp or whatever you have your show. So I'd love some thoughts later on in our conversation about how you do that. You do
Okay.
so well. So
Well,
let's,
thank you.
Ashlyn, if you can go over some of the different natural fibers for us,
Yes.
how they differ and any thoughts you have on how to kind of recognize them. I will be honest, when I'm listing things in my store, a lot of times it's just rattan because I don't know.
Yeah.
So any thoughts?
Well, in rattan is omnipresent. Okay, so we can start with rattan. I mean, rattan is really popular.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think I'm having some computer problems. Can you see me?
That's okay. Okay, so rattan is very popular. It's been around forever. I mean, it goes back thousands of years, and good job. It refers to a vine from the palm tree, basically, and it's able to be shaped. So what they do with rattan is they heat it and then they shape it. And then once it dries, it's incredibly strong and durable, which is why you can have rattan furniture. So it's very pliable and it's solid. So the core is solid on rattan versus bamboo, which is often confused with rattan. Bamboo actually has a what's the word I'm looking for? I wrote it down. Has a hollow core. Thank you.
Okay.
Versus rattan, which has a solid core. And like I said, it can be, it's a natural resource. It's relatively easy to grow, and it replenishes itself. And so a lot of people also like natural fibers for the environmental reason. They're fast growing. They're hardworking. They last a long time. So that's another kind of, there's an environmental aspect to these materials as well. Anyway, so rattan can be made into all sorts of things, from baskets to handbags to tables to chairs to small settees like we have in our home. And it's just a very versatile plant. Now, I wanted to mention one thing, because what you showed on the screen was rattan, but you could also call that wicker, because what people may not realize is that wicker actually just refers to the process of kind of weaving things together. So you can have something that's wicker that's made of rattan or made of hemp or made of cane or willow. Okay.
So that's interesting. So you can have any natural fiber that is wicker because that's the way that it's.
Exactly. Yes, wicker simply refers to, and let me see what I said in my notes. I don't think I wrote anything down, but wicker just refers to the fact that something has been woven together. So it can be all different kinds of materials. Yeah, so cool. So we've talked about rattan. What I think a lot of people relate to when they hear natural fibers are rugs. And I think you alluded to that. A lot of times we lay down a natural fiber rug and then we, put all of our stuff on top of that. And there are some key differences in natural fiber rugs. And I think the most common natural fiber rugs that we see, the most common are Sisal, Jute, and Seagrass.
Okay.
And all three have very distinct qualities. Jute is known for natural fiber to be one of the softest rugs.
Okay.
For the category of natural fiber. I find jute still not as soft as, say, wool or cotton, but for something that's durable and can withstand life, walking on children, toys, animals, etc. Jute is a really popular choice. And the nice thing about jute is it can be woven in, you can weave in, cotton or wool or chenille, and you can create really cool patterns. And jute is the softest. And it's from a stem that is spun. And funnily enough, actually burlap is made of jute. So a lot of people know burlap. That's made of jute. Yep. And it's a soft, wonderful option, relatively soft, I should say.
You vacuum. Do you have jute rugs?
I do. I have a big jute rug in our living room, and not all jutes are created equal. Some shed more than others, and I would say that's probably one of the chief complaints with a jute rug or a natural fiber rug. And I think jute may actually shed the most compared to sisal or seagrass, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I somehow managed to get one several years ago that did not shed much. And the reason I know that is because I then got a wool rug and I'm like, oh, this is shedding. Because a friend asked me, does this shed? I'm like, what do you mean? And then I got a wool rug and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So there are jute rugs on the market that don't shed as much. And then sisal and seagrass are probably the other two that are the most common. Sisal is definitely the strongest. It's more coarse, and it comes from the flowering agave plant, which is interesting. And you're going to show a picture of that, I believe. Yep. And so that's more coarse. When you're walking on that, maybe it feels a little bit more abrasive to, say, your bare feet, but it is the strongest. So, you know, if you need durability and you need if you have a high traffic area, sisal is a great option. However, there is a little bit of a caveat with sisal. It can be a little bit slick. So people don't recommend using sisal, say, as a stair runner.
Oh,
You can kind of, your feet can kind of go out from underneath you with sisal.
Ashlyn, that is such a good tip. Because when you
Yeah.
said traffic, I thought, oh, well, that should be in hallways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think hallways are probably okay, but given gravity on stairs, I think it's wise to not put sisal on stairs. And I'm sure there are exceptions to this and people have done it. But when I was doing my research, that was kind of one of the warnings on that. So, and that leaves seagrass as probably the third most common fiber that you'll see in natural fiber rugs. And seagrass, interestingly, actually, while jute and sisal can take dyes, seagrass can't really take dye. So seagrass actually starts out green, and then as the rug, you know, from the time it gets manufactured until it shows up in your home, it's more of a brown color. But sometimes you'll see seagrass rugs that have a more green tint because this is literally grass in the sea. Its name is very appropriate. So it's fascinating.
See it brown over time?
Yeah, yeah. And seagrass, one of the things people like about seagrass is that it's probably one of the most textured natural fiber rugs you can get. And if you look, I mean, it's just fascinating because it's highly textured. And another kind of fun fact about seagrass is it's actually stronger than cotton, and it's been used to make sails, like for the Navy, for the British and US Navy. They weave in seagrass because it's so strong and can withstand so much that you can weave it in with cotton to create something just extra durable, which I thought was fascinating.
Oh, I would love to see one.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So these fibers are all really cool. And I mean, we have been using these for so long. You know, when I think about natural fibers, I think a lot about like the 1970s and, but they've been used forever, and they're so versatile. It's such a renewable material, and I think it really, it adds a lot to a space.
Yeah, it really does.
And the amazing thing about these natural fiber rugs in particular is they work with so many different styles. I mean, you can put a beautiful seagrass rug in a formal dining room and layer furniture on top of it, and it's still going to look elegant, you know, or you can have it in a casual space, and they're just incredibly versatile. And for the size, you can get a great rug for relatively you can get a great rug relatively inexpensively with natural fiber.
Like cotton or wool?
Yeah, well, I think these are more affordable than cotton or wool. And it's a very different look. And sometimes what you can do is you can, layer, say, a cotton rug over, you know. So, when you think about a room, generally you want to go with the biggest size rug you can. Okay, so you have a room, you have a rug, and you want maybe that 12 to 14 inches border. And say you need a 9 by 12, but you don't want to spend money on a 9 by 12, Persian rug. If you get a natural fiber rug, that's tends to be more affordable, and then layer a smaller rug on top of it, you can still get that look. So it's great. It's a great option, basically. If you want to add warmth, you can bring in even color through natural fibers, because jute and sisal can be dyed. So you can get black, blue, it doesn't just have to be brown, even though I love brown.
That is so, I never thought about the dyeability of these, which is,
yeah.
I should, but it's never
Yeah.
occurred to me that they could be dyed.
Yeah. I mean, they're dyed on the manufacturing end,
Right.
not on, probably not at home, but yeah. So they're very versatile. They fit with a lot of different styles of decor. They're great. If you want a rug that all your furniture fits on, it can be the most economical route. And yeah, I mean, I've had multiple, and I actually have a really funny story about one natural fiber rug. I was at Goodwill a few years ago. This was several years before the pandemic. And this woman was taking a big, I think it was probably a jute rug, maybe sisal, but a jute rug. And honestly, Stacey, they're kind of hard to differentiate when you're looking at them.
Yeah.
And I know that was one of your questions was, how does the average consumer differentiate? And it's not always that obvious. I mean, I would say read the description, and a lot of times there may be more than one fiber in there, so it'll tell you like 90% jute, 10% cotton, or 90% jute, 10% wool, or something like that. But anyway, so, and then I'll get back to what the rug is made out of soon, because it's actually an important distinction to make in terms of if you're going to be spilling things on it. But anyway, so I was at Goodwill a few years ago, and I saw this woman taking this big, probably jute rug out of the back of her car, and she was donating it. And she was donating it, and I was kind of pulling away. And then I stopped and I turned around and I parked and I said, "Are you donating that rug?" She said, "Yeah, I don't need it anymore." And I said, "Can I have it?" She said, "Of course. Yeah, it's yours." And I mean, I should say, I donate a lot to Goodwill and I shop at Goodwill a lot. So diverting one rug from Goodwill, I didn't really have any qualms about that.
I have done that. I have been there. I always end up, I feel good about it.
Yeah. So I said, "Well, that's so sweet. I've actually got a great spot for it in our entry. Thank you." And she said, "No problem. I follow you on Instagram and I love your style." I said, "Oh, what's your name? It's so nice to meet you."
That's so fun.
Yeah, so that was a fun story. And then, so I used that rug for a while, and I layered a vintage wool rug over it. And then I changed up our entry again, and I passed along the jute rug to a friend of mine, and now she has it. So it's like the traveling rug, basically.
That is awesome. I've been there. I've watched people take things out of the car. I brought it into the counter and said, "I'll give you 20 for these."
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Did I ever tell you the story of this woman? I now kind of know her because she's a local picker, but she bought a lamp at Goodwill, and when I saw it, I just felt this soul connection, because I have a thing with lamps. I'm really into cool lamps.
I'm with you. I can't help myself. I have a lampshade graveyard, Ashlyn.
Oh, I do too. I
bring a new lamp. I got to go down to my graveyard.
Yes.
I love lamps.
Yeah, I do too. So this one woman, Helen, actually, local woman, was leaving Goodwill with this lamp one day, and I followed her out under the auspices of me opening the door for her, like as a kind person. She said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Sure, it's my pleasure." And I said, "By the way, I love that lamp." She says, "Oh, I do too." I said, "No, I really love that lamp." She says, I quite like it as well." I said, "Can I buy that lamp?"
Did she let you?
She said, "Sure." So yeah, I've had some good times at Goodwill.
You still have that lamp?
I don't. I sold it. It
Yeah.
went off to a very happy customer. I mean, I think I love the hunt and I love the flip. I love changing things around. But probably the one thing that doesn't change are my natural fibers. I'm always incorporating those into my space. And yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to ask Ashlyn, I feel like cane and bamboo and some of those have kind of made this like massive resurgence here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on, bamboo tables or like cane
Love 'em.
headboards? Are you using them in your decoration and your
Yeah. It just depends. I mean, it depends on what I find. I'm very open-minded when it comes to decorating. I feel like if you see something you love, you can make it work. That being said, I love to change things up. So if I find something awesome and I enjoy it for a while, I usually sell it and kind of pass it along. And that kind of frees me up to find other great things to bring in. So yeah, I mean, it's been around for a really long time. I think bamboo, 7,000 years or something. I think Marcy with made by Molly's mom might have mentioned to me. So these things have been around forever. And I think things go in and out of fashion a little bit, but I don't ever see cane or bamboo going out of style. I think it depends on kind of the vibe you're going for. People like to change things up, and the nice thing about these materials is they can fit in so many different kind of settings. And I do think a lot of it does go back to nature and wanting to feel a connection to nature.
You had mentioned earlier willow, and that is a fiber that I never think about in terms of identifying it. But once, when I was pulling up some of these pictures, I thought, are all of our Easter baskets willow and we don't
Probably.
like, like all of these moments that I was thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm probably interacting with some of these fibers on a day-to-day basis, and I don't even think about
Yeah. And I mean, I think you're right. And, unless you're going to, do a deep dive into this, the average person really doesn't need to know that much. I mean, basically, we have found these things in nature and we have created products out of them to use. And if you think about baskets have been around since humans have been, processing food and hunting and gathering. And, these things we put our remotes in were things that were used to clean rice or, I mean, it's very, very old technology, so to speak. And it comes from plants, and willow in particular is really rapidly growing renewable plant. They're either in tree form or shrub form, and they're commonly used for wicker work, like the Easter basket or, what you think of when you go to the store and see baskets there. That's bamboo is interesting. Like I mentioned, it has a hollow core, and bamboo you'll see doesn't usually have it. It generally has to be straight. Everything has to be straight, which is one way to differentiate between bamboo and rattan. Is rattan can be curved. You can heat it and bend it, and then as it cools, it stays in that curved shape. Whereas bamboo is always going to be straight.
Oh.
Yeah, little tidbit.
The way you incorporate burned bamboo.
Oh, and I love it. It adds so much. And so that really is my passion. I mean, I don't, I've learned through this process a little bit more about these materials, and it's fascinating. And I have a lot of kind of appreciation for people that have been making these awesome things. But really, you know, when you think about decorating a home, you have your rug, which may or may not be natural fiber. You have your upholstered furniture, you have your case goods, and then you get to do the fun part where you layer on, you know. And I really like to use small pieces, small to medium pieces that are maybe a little bit imperfect, that maybe a little bit remind you of nature, to ground spaces and to remind us, you know, that we're part of nature and it's imperfect, you know, it's got flaws, it's got you can see the hand sometimes that went into making it,
Yeah.
you know. And the other thing I love about natural fibers and like a good bamboo tray is it creates some of that tension that I think is really important in decorating. So if you've got, you know, a beautiful glass lamp or a beautiful ceramic lamp that's smooth and, you know, lovely and reflective, and, you know, it's there kind of pride of place, but you put something next to it, maybe that's a little bit rougher, that's a little bit imperfect, that is old, you know, you're going to create some tension there. And because they're next to each.
I'm sorry, Ashley, is that something you purposely do, or?
Oh, absolutely.
If I'm putting together a vignette on my table, what are your thoughts on how to incorporate the natural fibers? Am I going to purposefully pull together different textures, like smooth and glass, something maybe colorful?
Yes.
Is that how you would put together one of your?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my method. And probably for yourself and a lot of people watching, they may know that kind of intuitively, but maybe they haven't really drilled down on maybe why they chose that kind of rough hewn basket or something. We bring these pieces in because maybe we're craving something a little bit imperfect, a little bit not ugly, but something that feels natural. And then you put it next to something that's kind of perfect and refined, and it balances it out, you know. So I think maybe we don't always realize why we're drawn to that, but I think if you're in a kind of, maybe if you've created a sleek, you know, vignette and you want to add something in that's a little rough, something that's woven, it feels complete in my mind.
I've noticed you also do, it's interesting that you keep kind of going back to nature, because I've noticed you do a very good job of doing this with plants as well.
Yes, I have a little staghorn fern behind me. Let's see, kind of peek there. Yeah, I've got a fern in the corner, and I've got dark green pillows that remind me of nature. Yeah, I mean, I think plants, you know, and I've fluctuated, you know, depending on how hard I'm parenting, I may not have as many plants because plants can be quite demanding. However, they give you so much, you know, they're a little bit wild, you know, there's something about them a little bit wild. They're going to do what they do. And I love ferns because ferns have been around. I mean, I think they might be like prehistoric. I mean, ferns are super old plants. You know, you can go into woods and see them growing, and they are just, there's something in my heart about ferns. That's just, I love them. And I probably grew up with them too, you know, in the South where it's humid. So that's probably my connection as well. But, you know, but plants are a natural element too, you know, and I think, you know, if you can be conscious of bringing in plants and natural fibers, I think it just really warms up a space and it feels accessible and it feels approachable. You know, I was talking about texture recently on Instagram. I posted a photo of two decorators who I think do texture really well. And someone mentioned, I have a hard time bringing texture into my kitchen, which was really interesting because that probably is one area that's a little harder to think about bringing in texture or natural fibers. I mean, obviously you could do a natural fiber runner, you know, under your sink or something. Although, you know, you really, a lot like seagrass, for example, seagrass, you can get wet and it'll dry, but sisal, once you get it wet, That's kind of all she wrote. So you have to choose carefully. But anyway, what I'm saying is natural fibers in the kitchen can be a little harder. So I thought about that, and I realized I had purchased a really cute rattan pedestal bowl off eBay during the pandemic, and it has pride of place now on our counter for fruit. And that was a great way. So say you're looking in your kitchen and you don't see a lot of natural fibers or natural elements, because things do need to be wipeable, and you want to be able to spray cleaner after you do a stir fry or whatever. I think you can find ways to bring that into the kitchen to kind of warm it up, like with a wicker basket for fruit, or a rattan bowl, or a bamboo bowl, or something along those lines.
Ashlyn, I have never thought about this. I mean, it is just, I guess you're right. It's just sort of our human nature to warm up our spaces like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking now about some of the baskets I have on my cold granite countertops, and I'm thinking, of course they're all, whatever, some sort of wicker fabric, or because it warms it up. But I never did that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think you intuitively realized you want something here that's very warm and touchable and imperfect to kind of contrast with the smooth, marble or cool marble, So it's all about those, the balancing out, the juxtaposition, the little bit of tension that makes things interesting, and so I would say that's a great way to add that to a kitchen, which can seem a little bit, sterile sometimes. Although now there's a great kind of movement around unkitchens, right? Where you're bringing in the lamps and the skirts and all that.
Well, let me ask you really quick about price points. And I know that can differ based off of what you're buying. But so
about what? Say that again.
Based off of what you're buying, I that would change. What would be a good price point for a natural fiber rug?
I mean, you can get big ones for less than $500.
Okay.
I mean, and you can spend $1,200 on one. It depends on who's designing it and where you're buying it. So obviously there are big outfits that sell them, for $800 or $900 for an area rug. And they've got really cool designs, and maybe they're instantly recognizable as a Lulu in Georgia or whatever, for example. Or, there's New Loom or Salfavia, where you can find at all price points, and you can get that, 30% off sale, which means you've got an area rug of very good durability and quality for less than $500, and you can put a rug pad under it. That will make it feel a little bit plusher, a little bit softer, because sometimes, you're not going to get the same feeling with a wool rug as you will with a natural fiber rug. But I would say if you put a good rug pad underneath, not only will your rug last longer, but it will feel a little bit more plush, So it's definitely worth trying. We have one in our living room we've had since we moved in, and I've kind of looked around at others, and I'm like, it's got a subtle stripe. It's got, different color, a little slightly different color variation in it, and it's perfect. And I like it all these years later. So it's very versatile, very, affordable. But if you don't want to do a whole rug, there are lots of ways to bring in those natural fibers in other ways, through small accessories, to just remind us of nature, to keep us kind of connected to nature, and to provide that bit of texture.
Ashlyn, this was so awesome. If you have a few minutes, I would love to ask you a couple of questions to kind of get to know you better. What is your China pattern, or what is your favorite China pattern? Did you get
so I'm glad this isn't live. I should have warned you. I don't have a China pattern.
You know what? I have so many that I don't have like one.
Yeah, well, so we ordered, 20 years ago when my husband and I got married at a police station, another story, and neither of us were in jail. We registered at Crate and Barrel, and I'm kind of a recovering minimalist.
Okay.
And for 20 years, we have used the same very pretty, simple white Crate and Barrel china.
I love it.
Yeah, but I use it with my bamboo flatware.
See, texture, cold, warm, cold, warm.
Right, exactly. And, yeah, it just works for us. And I mean, my mom jokes with me because at a point in my life, I could fit all of my belongings in a 1985 Honda Accord. So I really did used to be a minimalist. And then now I'm a late bloomer, but I've still got just my white china and I love it.
I mean, look, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, but you can put it on a rattan charger and it looks great.
Oh, so what are you hoping to currently find for your home?
Oh, girl, so I'm on the hunt right now for possibly, and I say possibly because the way I shop, I go to all different kinds of places. I find things for $200. I find things for $20. And if I like it, I get it and then I adapt. But anyway, right now I'm on the hunt for somewhat primitive wood table, relatively narrow. So specifically, 30 inches long, possibly 12 inches deep, and possibly 30 inches high. Because I haven't thought about this. And I have a space in what's kind of a small hallway downstairs that I'm looking. I have a piece of art and I want a table to go underneath. And this is a new need because I just changed up my entry, which you can kind of see behind me. And I have a chest of drawers there that used to be in this spot and I moved it there. So now I have a bit of an empty spot and I'm just enjoying the process of finding it. And there's no rush. And it'll be lovely when I find it. So that's what I'm on the hunt for.
I have days where I'm very patient and thankful for the hunt.
Yes.
And then I have days where I just want to find it and I want to move on.
Yes. I am with you. I have those same days.
So what is your favorite vintage find?
Oh, that's a good question. So when I first saw that question, I thought, well, name your category. So Is it chairs? Is it tables? Is it lamps? But thinking about it and coming up with an answer, I would probably have to say it would have to be in the category of lamps because lamps, I love lamp light. I really don't use overhead lights. I mean, we have a few kind of spotlights on dimmers in rooms that I put on, but lamp light is really my favorite. And I have some really nice older lamps that I love. And probably one of my favorites was the Double Happiness ginger jar lamp that I found at Salvation Army for $7. And I walked out very proud. I was kind of showing everyone.
Look at my baby. Look what I found.
Yes. So this, unassuming woman was walking in while I walked out and I said, have you seen, So I put it in my car, I put the seatbelt on and I went on my merry way. And then I found another ginger jar, Double Happiness jar that I had made into a lamp. So now I have a nice pair on a chest of drawers. So that was probably for $7, it was kind of the beginning of this vision I had where I would have two of them and I had one made to match the other. And so that's probably one of my favorites, but I've got a lot of, I've got a lot of nice lamps that I love that were very inexpensive, that bring me, so much joy that it's kind of priceless.
What is the one find that got away that haunts you?
Oh, so, this is kind of a cop-out answer, but my personality is such that I don't get that. So how do I say this? Well, one, I think that there's always more cool stuff out there. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's not just lip service. I really think there's always more cool stuff out there, which is part of the reason I sell a lot of stuff, because I feel like energetically it opens me up to other things. So I can't say that I'm really haunted by anything. I mean, because I shop thrift, it's like, if I want it, I get it, because it's not a lot of money. And so, and then I think if I see something and it's not in my, and I don't do estate sales to be, so I do think that probably takes out some of that, because someone's getting to it right before you are. I mostly do thrift and Facebook Marketplace. And I have had some moments on Facebook Marketplace where it's like, darn, yeah. But then I'm like, there will be other things, So that's kind of my attitude. And I think because I don't get super attached to things, I have a pretty c'est la vie. And I think as I get older too, I kind of have a pretty, mature outlook on that. There will be other things.
So I normally ask, what do you like more? And then I give options, but
yeah.
Why don't you do, or why are you not drawn to estate sales?
Oh, okay. So that's a good question. One, I love my morning coffee, and my husband brings me my coffee every morning, and I sit in bed.
That's all I want him. That's like all I want him to do.
Yeah. And so I love that. It's a ritual. I'm 45. I've been doing that since we've been married 20 years. And, okay, so that's number one. Number two, I went to one with my parents in Charlotte, North Carolina, several years ago, and it made me really sad. So there was all this lotion that they hadn't used yet, and it was for sale. So maybe it wasn't the best estate sale, because it was Neosporin and lotions and toothpaste. And it's very competitive, and I don't think I'm a super competitive person. I kind of am like, oh, you want it here, So I kind of wander in and out of thrift stores, you know.
Do you shop a lot of consignments?
Some. But I have kind of a, look, I get obsessed and I get as laser-like focus on things, okay? I'm not gonna lie. But for the most part, it's kind of a luxury to be able to slowly acquire things and to fall in love with things and to acquire something and then kind of, restyle an area around it, So, and our house is pretty much, we have everything we need. So everything else is kind of icing, right? Or it allows me to play a little bit or to experiment. And maybe it's because I haven't been to one where I got something that completely changed my life. That could be it too. I know.
I tell you what. You come to DC and
yes, and I'll be hooked.
We'll go with you.
Yes.
It'll just be so fun that we'll erase the bad memory of
the Neosporin. Yeah.
So do you do online auctions?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't. I do Facebook Marketplace. It's a bit of a sport, Right. I sell on there, I buy on there. And I've had some really great, I got this settee last weekend that I absolutely love. And the funny story, it was $20 and it's just a really pretty piece. And I had to pay a lot to get it home because I went to pick it up and it was too big, which was actually good because I needed something big. And I thought if it doesn't fit in my car, that's actually a really good sign. So I had to hire a TaskRabbit, but it ended up being a good experience. So yeah, I've kind of trained my eye over time to recognize, scale and proportion and form. And I will act on things quickly, if I see something on Facebook Marketplace. And, I love that you can set your radius. That's a whole other topic really, because I was just talking to someone today. She says, I just don't have any luck, and I've got tips. It learns what you're looking for. If you save items, it'll feed you those items. So that's a whole other topic, but, always be kind, always know that there will be more things out there, and if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And to keep your eyes open for when that person resells it, if you had your heart set on it.
Good idea.
Yeah, because you may pay 3 times as much, but if you love it, it'll be worth it.
So what is your most prized family heirloom?
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of pieces I love. And I would probably, so I've got a pair of club chairs in our main bedroom. So I've got this table on one wall. We have a big main bedroom. I have a table on one wall and 2 upholstered club chairs. And my husband sometimes has coffee there when he brings me my coffee. And those were my parents' chairs when they got married, and they've been married 50 years. And my parents are still alive. And they got those chairs when they got married, and they had been reupholstered so many times. And now they're upholstered in a really beautiful kind of off-white linen. And they're just classic chairs. And they've been in all kinds of rooms in our homes. You know, we're on our 3rd home, and they've been in all kinds of rooms, and they just will never go out of style. And they're super comfortable. You know, they've got a deep seat, the back height's perfect. So then I would have to then say I have a second favorite find, or a second favorite family piece, which is actually the table I work at in our den, which is a very old antique table that was Ruffy's parents. And it was brought over from South Africa when they immigrated to North Carolina from South Africa. So when they came over, they had nothing. And then it took many months, maybe more than that, to get their furniture from South Africa to the United States. And so this table is in our den, and it's been in lots of different rooms. Our children have eaten snacks on it. They've done work on it. I use it kind of as a desk, like you see here. And it's a beautiful, I think it's called like barrister style table with carved wood legs. And
You're gonna make Ashlyn, that is so sweet.
Yeah. So
I say this
yeah,
all the time, but I feel like it is such a privilege for us to be able to put more life and love into these pieces. And I feel so strongly about
I do too.
I don't care if it's in fashion. I think about like my grandparents and how hard they worked to these pieces of furniture, and how we are just so disposable with our things.
I know. And yeah, I feel the same way. And I have a pair of our side tables in our living room were my grandparents, my mom's parents, and we use them every day. They're timeless. And yeah, and part of what I love about what I do as a stylist is kind of opening up people's eyes. I mean, I'm a stylist, but I don't know. It's, I help people with furniture, buy furniture, redo furniture, you know, the whole thing. And I've been lucky enough to have clients that will allow me to show them the benefit of buying secondhand, and in some cases reupholstering it, you know, taking it down to the frame, and buying killer fabric and giving it another good 30 years, you know, because most of this furniture is better made than a lot of stuff today. Now there are exceptions. There's still wonderful furniture made today, but depending on your budget, you know, you can find a pair of used chairs and get, you know, great fabric in the hands of a great upholsterer, and you're coming out far ahead in many aspects, I think, you know, style, affordability, and etc. And, you know, I'll never get rich doing this because I'm pointing people to used furniture that I don't make any money off of, but I don't care because I am passionate about it. You know, there are these beautiful things out there waiting for a second chance or a third or fourth chance. And I love bringing that into a place and maybe mixing it with some newer pieces and creating that really unique, you know, pretty much one and only style home, because no one else is putting things together the way you are based on what you're drawn to, you know. So it really is, it's a passion of mine too. And I love Instagram because it's brought people, you know, like us together to, we share these, you know, these loves. So.
Well, Ashlyn, I cannot thank you enough for today. This was
my pleasure.
Informative, and I can't wait to be more thoughtful in how I'm doing this in terms of adding that warmth and that texture.
Oh, well, your home is gorgeous, Stacey. I don't think you need any help.
No, I've never put any thought into it, and this is something that I think you're the comment that you made earlier about how we're throwing our remotes in these baskets that were used initially.
Yes.
I mean, I think that there's some real thought that needs to be put into that from a homeowner's point of view. And I am so thankful for our conversation today to make me a little bit more thoughtful as I'm throwing the Legos and throw under the bed, but I'll be more thoughtful at least in doing that.
Yeah. Well, there's really cool old stuff out there, and I think bringing it in and, you know, using it and having it kind of add to your daily life is a real fun thing to do. And maybe people will start noticing that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, everybody, this is Ashlyn Goldberg from
Thank you for having me.
Common Collector. Her handle's down here, Ashlyn, at Ashlyn Goldberg on Instagram. Go follow her if you're not. Ashlyn, thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy. It was so much fun. You have a good rest of your day and happy weekend.